Welcome to TWI ACD. I've just talked for 9.50. I have with me today Mr. Europe as my co-conspirator, my co-worker, my co-talker, my co-host.
Hello.
And we're gonna chat a bit about this chapter, and then let the floodgates flew and let everybody else talk about it. Holy crap! This was a doozy, man, wasn't it? Okay.
Yeah.
Bounce.
Yes, for sure. I'm not sure how much feedback you want on every question.
Oh, sorry. Gotcha. Okay. Well, I mean, let's just take it from the top. Let's see. Um, the horns enter the crossroads. One of the eyes of Bale Rose has been found. Veton almost died stealing freaking the swords of Gilbike, and Gil finally actually left Liscor, which is kind of funny. That's taken directly from the text. What do you think? It's just like what jumped out at you? What jumped out at you the most, man?
For me, it was just that it started as like a fun adventure, kind of them figuring out things and then going on to like, oh, we're going to do the crossroads and it's going to be fun. And then things just steadily went into more and more of a, oh, this is a chapter where terrible things happens.
Indeed. Like, oh, this is someone's like pushing like just about to push the boulder over the cliff, about to start rolling, you know. Like,
And then they have their foot tied to the boulder.
indeed. There's just, like, but there's so much lore in this one. We learned about freaking Krillers. We learned about the Eyes of Belrose. We learned about even Nears hanging out with the Lightning Thief. Holy crap! This was a crazy freaking chapter. Let's get into a bit of an impression, I guess. First of all, Donkey says this chapter sure exists. I'm excited for the new arc it sets up. So, yeah, it definitely exists. That's the one way to put it. Everyone, get down here and come talk.
Yes, for me, I think it was just an okay chapter. It was set up again for me. The last chapter, to be honest, had more of an impact for me because, like, Kolf going murder hobo on some slavers. And this chapter was, like I said, more of an setup. The law thing were interesting, especially the ominous words at the end, where Cassigna had her evil monologue with herself. And otherwise, yeah, like I said, Kelp got a sword stolen, almost started Intinium War 3, and he wouldn't even care because he took my sword. That was funny.
That was
he terrorizing poor Gary.
Gil's just been getting increasingly more petty about certain things, and I've been really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Embracing the old man energy.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Old man barks the cloud.
He and Fiorem swinging their dicks around was pretty funny. Also, and again, a pair or a meeting I didn't know I wanted to happen but when it did, it was awesome. It's like Pirate always does that. You don't know that you want some people to meet until they do, and then it's just amazing.
Gilbin Feddo.
Yeah, it was just. I can just imagine these two ancient beings just sitting there and throwing their old age around like it's like like it's a sword. And yeah, if I had to rate it, I would say 6 or 10.
6 or 10.
Yeah.
You're a troll.
No, it's 6 or 10 is still really good for. It's still good.
Get back under your bridge.
It was fine, but
Good
not
to
more.
breathe.
Well, that's what it's about. It's general impressions. It's opinion. Everyone's entitled to them, even they're wrong. Boyles, are you gonna disappoint me? Come talk, please.
I don't think I'm going to disappoint you. Am I a disappointment to you, Subhammer?
Well, I had him wrong. Just give it a 6 out of 10. What do you got?
You don't like Buffy.
Okay. That's
Exactly
true.
what I
I
wanted
don't
to
like
say.
Buffy. It's
That
true.
was off. That was off. Sound.
All right. I'll be a disappointment today. This was a 9 out of 10 chapter. All right? A
Okay,
9 out of 10.
Fuck.
I'm not
9
disappointed.
out of 10. And basically, it just like all of it was good. There wasn't a bad part of the chapter. There wasn't a boring part of the chapter. All of it really flowed well. All of it was just really good. Especially, and we get the cool little hidden section that it was just cool. Like that's just a cool thing that you'll never see in basically any other web serial. Like they just don't do this kind of stuff. And the only people who can do it is web serial authors. And so it's really cool that Pirate Eba like explores these kinds of options, and it's just a cool section. Really, it's a really cool section. But yeah, overall, just a 9 out of 10 chapter. I can really start to feel the volume coming to a close because this was it was very obviously to me a setup for the end of the volume bonanza. These two plots are going to come at the end of the volume, basically, in my mind. And we've been pushed to the brink of where they're really going to explode. And now we're going to wait a little bit for other plots probably to move forward, and then we'll get into the volume with everything.
Totally. I mean, I could definitely. It's just like the pressure is mounting. Or it was smoothing out. It was settling a bit. Just relaxing a bit for the beach a bit, and now it's wrapping back up, and it's like, yeah, here it comes. I was actually I really wasn't expecting it to start back up again so quick, but after the beaches and stuff. But I mean, some things jumped real forward in this, and I was not expecting the horns to just step into the crossroads today. It's like, what the hell? I mean, after all the talk about preparation and stuff, but we can get into that later. Kel says, "I always love a good lore chapter. This had lore and mind-boggling physics. It's very true. We learned some very funny things about the actual physics of InWorld with Killbiker talking about gravity underneath rear. I wonder if it's just under rear or if it's every other place. What do you got? Let's see. Bleach Soul, you come on up if you want to talk.
Yes. Well, I give the chapter like 9 out of 10 too. There are many things that were excellent in this chapter. Very much a lot of lore, and with regard to the Unestis network, I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it was just the food. I believe it was because they were acknowledged. Because I think with just giving them food and they would just connect on that kind of level, it will be like a bit silly to
I love that
to
take. I love that
make
take.
because they were acknowledged and respected, and got something from the queen. I believe that's what made the difference. With regards to the lightning thief, I'm a bit annoyed about the OP arm. I mean, like seriously, I don't believe there should be this much difference in level between the artifact and the wielder. So I don't believe like it's really it seems like lots of lots of plot device that enabled them to move the plot along because I don't know, I don't like it much, to be honest. And I expected the horse actually to be with Eren on the solstice because I didn't believe they're gonna leave her to fight alone in this, and they know something is coming, so I didn't believe they're gonna let her fight alone there. The lore was excellent. I really liked everything about the Antinium. Yeah, that was my thoughts for now.
Thank you. Those are great thoughts.
I should point out that the lightning arm or the crystal arm is kind of like the whole point, that they all have these ridiculously powerful artifacts from one of the most powerful thieves in the last 100 years. And
Yeah, he might have been one of the most highly leveled people in the last 100 years. Like
and I do
what
love
was
that.
the? Go for it, please.
Just that I do love the fact that she's so clearly like too weak to use it properly, and just collapses on the floor after using a single skill from the arm.
Yeah, I mean that was some. I mean the two things we've seen is all about bending time, hasn't it been? I mean, it was a recaptured thing when he had jumped off the ledge of Palas last time with the seal or with the seal or something, and now this time it's like no, all that stuff did happen, sort of didn't happen, and now we're getting the hell out of here. That was a crazy time.
Indeed.
Yeah. Let's see. Mystical Pie says, I liked this chapter. It was a lot of setup and lore dumps, but I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to see how this train wreck proceeds. Horns and Ants are always some of my favorite chapters. Mystical Pie, it's a good take. I like that take. I'm very judgmental today. I'm going to stop being judgmental. Ed, I apologize. Wiggles, I don't apologize to you. Black Giraffe says, it felt like a lot of funny, terrible things. Everything was lighthearted, and everything is going wrong, but it's still good, kind of, sort of way. You know what? I like that take too, but that is a good way of saying it. Like, oh God, everything is about to die, but it's still kind of funny. It's like still in that romantic comedy kind of way. I know. I like that idea. Oh boy.
So, do you want to read this or rest your voice?
I mean, kind of promised I would have done, but if you want to do it,
Make Lino read it.
no, he doesn't
I
have
don't
to.
mind if you guys have problems. Here I go, because I know reading is hard. We read like 12 million word story and it's too hard, so I will read it out loud for all of us. Don't worry, I'm cut of Sylvania. I don't mind saying it.
Okay. Well,
So,
Lino, give it to us.
my ranking of the chapter, infinity out of 10. Overall, I loved it. First, we had the letter from my Meow Meow, Akami Sylvania Ether the Death of Magic, delivered straight to the horns in the ice shard, because why not? Her offer is very, very generous when you think of it. And they basically have to just go in and do a little scouting now and then, and once they find something really dangerous, but also valuable, just call Sylvania and be like, Best Meow Meow over here, we need your backup. I repeat, we need your backup. And then Seria calls Sylvania like that, once the shit hits the fan, and they have to run, and then, Sylvania comes, saves the day, she gets half of the rewards, and the horns get half of the rewards, so, it's kind of mutual good deal for both parties. Then we have next part, the story about the greatest hero of last 5,600 years, Sylvania herself. She visited every continent before turning 50. She was not just a mage, she was a prodigy mage from Avel, who fought in the greatest of evil shits, the Krillers, on 3 different continents. They fought against the apocalypse, and they won. She became an archmage of Wistram. She was a hero to so many, but once Wistram betrayed her, they wanted to erase her legacy. They wanted to take everything away from her. Every honor, every recognition, every mention. But the part that made me tear up, look, guys, the Celt remembers of all nations, at least Celt remembers that Sylvania is a hero, and all should know it, now and forever. Yeah. How can a cat not cry at the mention of his hero being remembered? Then we have had another thing. Erin not being able to use that dump skill on her anymore. Fuck yeah! Victory! Finally! Imagine that Sylvania would be taking a bath and Erin cries all of a sudden, or if she was sleeping. I swear if she used the dump skill and woke Sylvania, I would find Erin and I would show her that scratches from a cat can heal for days. No one wakes up my Meow Meow, not even some innkeeper. Meow. And lastly, the last part, okay, the sleeping dump. I mean that. At first, it was kind of scared. I was kind of scared, but you know what? I have faith in my Meow Meow. I know how it's going to go like. So, first off, we have the sleeping god. I'm finally awake, time to bring the terror to the world. And the entire horde goes like, oh no, we are going to die. And me, Lino the cat, I'm just going to be like crying cat in the corner. And Sleepy is going to be like, oh, cry cat, cry, for I am a god. What are you going to do? And then Sylvania is going to come out and be like, what are you doing to my kitten? And Sleepy is like, I am a god, how can you kill a god? And starts burning. Then Sylvania proceeds to snap her fingers and a tier 8 spell get unleashed, 100 hellfire pillars of Sylvania. Sleeping god starts burning and goes like, you dare me? Sylvania snaps again and again and again and goes full Roy Mustang versus Envy on her, if anyone remembers when from the Full Metal Alchemist. Burns the absolute shit out of her while counter-leveling against the Krillers and that die with that wretched things. After not even a minute of fight, level 90 Sylvania looks with pure disgust at that dead thing that scared her cat and says the words, 100,000 god-slaying arrows. Tier 9 spell that kills her on the spot. I mean, not Sylvania, but that thing. The dead goddess of dreaming, I presume. Then she picks me up, and we come together to her tower, snuggle, and wonder which one of the dead morons will come to here to die next. Also, Blighted King will die out of diarrhea in the meantime. A happy ending to that dire arc. Nya. That's it.
Certainly a comment.
I was giving it the respect it deserved. That deserved an ellipsis at the end.
I
That
don't
was
think we could have. I don't think we could have matched that reading it out. But yeah.
No, I don't think we could have done that justice. Bravo. That was a thing. Let's see here. Something we could respond back to. Sylvania's. I do like that we are seeing more of the rear plot line of Sylvania being integrated into the main story. It's kind of mentioned in the last couple of chapters. But it has been fun finally getting. I mean, it's been on rear for so long. It's just like it's the boogeyman of of Rear, basically, and just like, okay, but what do you have? How are you, partaking in this? What are you giving to the main story? And it's like nothing yet, but I will soon.
Yeah, I mean the sleeping god was mentioned in like 2.441, and this is the first time we've actually seen anything of it.
Oh yeah, I was just talking about Sylvania, but yeah, you want to talk about the
but like
sleeping god?
rear in its
Sure.
entirety.
Yeah, it's like, I mean that we do have a couple of questions in the document about that to get to, but that's no, that's the rear. That's probably the most earth shattering thing is the sleepy thing. To be honest, I mean we got plenty to talk about with that. But thank you.
And sorry.
Oh, please.
No, it's just that we should probably move through these final ones and pick out a question.
Definitely. Okay. All right. Kel says, food-based unitasis unitasis network. Grandpa Fedo's story time. Great Grandpa Caleb's story time. All those layered civilizations. Yes, that's actually pretty cool. Uncle Ware's cautionary tale that everyone ignores. Aaron's Majesty. I know the Majesty part. Aaron's Majesty part. I have thoughts. I really want to get into that, to be honest. But we'll get through this. Mr. Wiggle says, in response to the earlier gravity question I was posing, on the gravity thing, it'd be weirder if it wasn't constant all around the world. I agree it'd be weirder, but as I was saying it, I thought, well, it's weird under rear, so maybe it's just a rear thing. Edaron says, what the F is wrong with all of you? It was a setup chapter. Yes, but it was so good. It was so full of lore. Come on, Ed. Wiggles replied, as in, if only under rear. Oh, okay. As in, if only under rear, the gravity gets lesser as you go down. As a absolute soul, I think they're going to join and help Aaron. What was it? Oh, right. We were talking earlier. And then by walking through the crossroads to be at the score, the time to say, you know what? I thought that too. That'd be cool. Blitzer, that would be nice. Then Duncan says, Liscor is one of the more dangerous areas in the crossroads. I wonder if that has to do with the Mother of Graves, in the dungeon in Liscor. I have thoughts about that. And then Edaron says, I know, but that's how named ranks are born. Indeed. And so we can see that the volume will end in a couple of months. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Now, Mr. Co-host.
Yes.
Did you happen to peruse the list of questions or the discussion topics?
Certainly the first half, anyway, before all the others were added. Do you have a question in mind, or?
Well, let's. we could start at the top, but I was just wondering if you had a preference or where you'd wanted to start.
No, the first one's a good one.
Okay, so I'm not gonna type out somebody. You can do it.
I'll do it.
Did anyone miss the theft? The little part that Wiggles mentioned earlier. Thank you, Mr. Europe. And did you have to go back and read it in the author's notes? Also, do you skip the author's notes regularly? And how many of y'all actually read the author's notes? I'm just curious about that. I tend to just I have a thing that reads it to me, so I let it. I just let it always play out. So I'm always getting the update. But
I tend to skim the author's notes a bit, like sometimes, and don't always read them perfectly like that. But I did notice in like after the chapter came out that it was noticeably harder to see the link on mobile rather than desktop, which may have something to do with it.
Ah, okay, yeah, that was a. Duncan said I watched the stream, so maybe there was a little spoiler in there. And they didn't know. Mr. Wiggles, come speak.
I, like Donkey over there, watched the stream, so I couldn't have missed it because it wasn't in the stream. But I will say that just scrolling past it, it's really obvious that just the blood spatter on it. It's really obvious, and it's kind of like pronounced that there's something odd happening here. So I don't think I would have missed it if I was just doing it. If I was just reading the chapter normally, especially because there's a link to it later on. But I could see why someone would skip past it. But at the same time, that's your fault. Okay.
Can somebody tell me what's in the hidden? I mean, is it just hidden on the side because I just copy all the text, or is it a link that I have to click on?
You have to click on there's line breaks throughout the chapter. One of them has a blood stain, and you have to click on that, and it expands another section.
Yeah, it's like a spoiler section that expands out.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
like
don't get it if I just copy everything.
No, you wouldn't
Yeah.
have gotten it if you had copied
And
that.
what was in that hidden section? Because I didn't read it.
So-
The entire heist.
Well, Kilbike was accosting Gary. Vetten bought some cookies, dropped his bag, turned around, and basically the flashed himself over and stole.
The fight between the two. I read that, but I thought it was hidden.
See,
That was the hidden part. The fight.
Yeah, that was the hidden
that
part.
was the hidden part.
Okay, then I read it. Never mind.
I guess
So that's
you
the
did.
thing. So that's the thing. I didn't notice it was hidden at all as well because I copied and pasted mine as well, and it just went straight through it. And then I did notice there was a pirate mentioned something for patrons or whatnot. So I went back and looking for something, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is what was different. But once I realized what it was, I'm like, oh, that's really clever. But it just read through it perfectly for me. So I unfortunately missed it, but I still thought it was a pretty neat trick, especially after Wiggles was going off about how only web serials can really do that. I'm like, what? That's a really clever idea, and especially if you're gonna have a medium, why not play to the strengths of it?
Pirate did make it a lot more obvious this chapter with the there's a blood splatter on the link or under the link and or on the hidden section, and then there's a second link here like later in the chapter which takes you back to it, which it's. I was very surprised when I found out that some people missed it, but apparently, yeah, it's much easier to miss if you read it in different ways than just on a desktop.
Yeah. Let's see. Mr. Pie says, I always read the author's notes. Also, the hidden section was more obvious than normal, so I definitely didn't miss it. I've also gotten into the habit of looking for hidden text and stuff while reading. This section was arguably the best part of the chapter. I have to say, like the thing, one of the things I really enjoyed was the Terry Arch thing where while he's sneaking around invisible, the text would be the same as the background. I always really enjoyed that. Like if you didn't highlight the stuff, you wouldn't be able to see it. And there was and also the what was it? When Ryoko was first meeting Terry Arch, he was like attempting to be cool, but he kept tripping and falling on his face. but he kept rewinding and stuff. I think it was done like that as well. So
There's also the Tom chapter, which had the laugh starting,
the music, yeah,
and the of course the Solstice chapters, which had their own little
that's
thing.
right. That's right. Kineas says, I missed it. I was reading on a cell phone with the chapter preloaded and no internet. I saw the blood splatter, but didn't want to risk clicking it and maybe losing the preload. Yeah, to the hyperlink with no connection. But I got internet back in time. I got the author's notes, so I read that. Nice. All right, good. Linu, did you want to speak
Yeah,
or just?
yeah. Just speak. I saw it. I didn't have problems with seeing it, not at all. I just saw it and started reading it. Also, I saw that invisible text, which was about that wannabe lightning thief. That small bit that she was preparing herself when they started their little haste against the Kilbish and his swords. So I didn't need to read the author's notes for that. I just saw it, and frankly, I'm quite happy that I saw it because apart from Sylvania stuff, that was one of the better parts of the Chappie. However, the entire Chappie was good, so there was nothing like that I could just point out and be like, okay, this part of Chappie is bad, it sucks. No, the entire Chappie was good, so I don't mind. And that haste was pretty neato. Also, when Kilby said curious and just grabbed the I believe that was Vet. I always mistake them. There's Vet and Tessie. And I always
Vet.
mistake which one is who.
It was Vetten.
So yeah, I got them right. Next time around, I got them right, and I'm happy about it. I like this one. It was a good one, and I didn't need to read the author's notes for them. I just saw it.
Right. Thank you, Leonard. Good to hear about that. Yeah, Gil went. I really enjoyed the fight scene. People. Let's say, I'll say Blitzel says the Eagle War between Gilb and Fedhat was hilarious. Yes, it was. We will get into that very soon. But I have to say, I really enjoyed the fight scene, and and I don't want to like besmirch the the cinematic masterpiece that was the Justice League, but there was a moment in that when the Flash is running very fast towards Superman, who's being a little crazed at the time, and then Superman's eye just kind of catches him, and he looks back terrified, like, "Oh my God, he can see me moving this fast." It's kind of that's probably one of the best parts of that movie, But that's the kind of feeling I got when suddenly Kilb had just sublimities himself after poor Vetten, who definitely knew he shouldn't be doing it, but did it anyway. That was very fun. And what did you think about it, Zero?
Yeah, I just missed the first part of that as going through the questions, trying to prepare next one. Sorry.
No problem.
But, should we move on to like
Sure.
the horns and crossroads questions to start with, and then go to the other parts? Or
Sure. We can do that. Let's see here. Regarding the horns, was anybody else kind of annoyed that when they asked directly what kind of dangers was or in the crossroads, that no one gave a straight answer? That was kind of annoying. I mean, like, so where did it describe the dangers? What do you think they could be? The librarian from Kelt mentioned that dangers from the Rain of Blood. Does that mean vampires? I'm thinking that might be vampires.
Yeah, I think there's also like the general like things between worlds and like the whole dimension stuff that might be have something to do with it, and just general horribleness. But yeah, there the stuff about Liskor and Rain of Blood and different things. Like it's fairly certain that there are just ancient horrors in there. We also know that there used to be a toll keeper in there, from what Belavier said. Just strange, horrible things that have just stayed in there for a long time. I think it's going to be very interesting, but I wish they gave a little bit more of a hint of something concrete that they might find.
Well, this idea of the underway, of the crossroads, of the kind of interstice of reality has been in it's definitely a bunch of other stories. What do you call it? I don't know what you call it in the Malazan. Yeah, Malazan. I'm sure it's in Malazan. I recently read a similar thing in the Noobtown series. You know, it's like this dimension, this speed travel. You know, dimension.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a classic fantasy trope. You know, they have it in Wheel of Time and then like various other things. The fast travel system that's really kind of
yeah,
dangerous and old, and we probably shouldn't use. Like, I'm pretty sure it's an old Arthurian myths about like traveling through the Fey realms and stuff, like between
yeah.
dimensions. It's an old trope, but it checks out.
Sure. There's also the idea of don't lose the path. Don't follow the lights. Don't follow the lights. Let's just call them. You gotta stay on the known path, or else you're gonna
The
get
Hobbit
got
as
by the.
well.
Okay. Yes, indeed. Then come and talk about your thoughts on this.
Okay, so maybe that Null didn't really talk that much about them, apart for being like, guys, listen up, that area is spooky. And they were like, but why is it spooky? And he goes like, because it's spooky. Which tells us absolutely nothing.
I know, like, because the first like,
yes,
can you tell me what it is? But no, I don't know.
I will not tell you what it is because it's too scary. Then how do we know that it's scary? You don't. It was
I agree.
basically he's rambling to him. He's rambling to them, to the horns. But more than that, I think we can kind of assume the normal, usual stuff that we can kind of expect in there. Like we know that even the devs are wary of the stuff that is in there, and if level 80 plus Sylvania is not really sure what she can find in there, more than there is the same kind of blight that is in the Rihir, which is kind of worth pointing out, that you can find the exactly same type of blight in there, and it's corrupted that entire area. Apart from those three places that are more or less safe, then I can assume that we can find there the typical usual stuff: the high-level monsters, some old powerful undead, some dimensional sheets, some corrupted spellbooks that once you touch, your arm turns into PP or something like that. The usual.
Yeah, probably. This okay. Edoron says Void Moth. Yeah, I think Phil mentioned something like that about his thing being in a different space. Mr. Wiggles, come on down. You wanted to talk.
So, I think part of the reason why we didn't describe the dangers is because they're kind of just. Well, first off, Wur hasn't explored a lot of the places like outside of the very beginning when he's got this skill, which who knows how many years ago that was, but he only explored it at the beginning, and he would only understand the dangers of some places more than others, I would think. But the other reason I think is, in addition to that, is that just he doesn't know, like the dangers change. They have different regions have different dangers. So I think if he explained exactly what he thought or what he experienced happened in there, it might it might it might give them the wrong impression, and they might try and prepare for something that isn't going to happen to them. I think that's kind of why he didn't explain the exact dangers that he faced, because he knows that there's a lot of varied dangers in there. And on the Rain of Blood part of the question, I think it's likely that it's vampires, but there are also, whoever said the librarian, come on. Oh wait, actually yes, that was that librarian. Never mind. I thought that was what's her face.
Thank you.
But it was the librarian. Never mind. But the Rain of Blood. It's likely that it's vampires, but there's also a chance it's like blood mage type of deals. Because we have heard that blood mages exist. We have heard that blood mages have done some bad things in the past. So it could be a group of blood mages that were in power during the Reign of Blood. But yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I mean, the one problem is that we don't know how. Like, do we even know exactly when the five families got to Israel at this point? Like, was pre-Krellers or no? Because if it
I think it was.
pre-Krellers,
I think it was pre-Crawlers, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
because if it wasn't pre-Krellers, then it's weird that would be.
Well, we know that
Markin
was given her throne during the Krilla Wars, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like the thing afterwards where.
Yeah.
But the families
I don't
that
know
went
when.
to it's a bit, it's not entirely clear. But from my point of view, vampires fits best as long as it happened before the Preller Wars. Otherwise, it doesn't make a ton of sense that it would be like a thing that affected the crossroads after they closed. But oh.
Yeah, and just what's his face, Yggdrasil, or however you say his name. That's the only time I'm going to say it. The Silver Dragon. Yeah, the Silver Dragon. Fought the vampires. I think, right? He fought vampires. Yes. He left that whole ritual thing for his descendants. So yeah, he fought vampires, and he died in the Kreller Wars. So they have to have been before the Kreller Wars. So it's definitely, the five families definitely came before Kreller Wars, just based off of that. There might be other stuff that disputes that, but I'm just going with that.
Just thinking about something.
Imagine having. Let's not. I'm sorry.
No, I was going off on a tangent. Imagine your family's name lasting for 5,000 years, for 6,000 years and more. Like the Reinhardt vampires. Like there were Reinhardts that came like 10,000 years ago, and then there's still people named Reinhardt. That's kind of crazy. I mean,
well, they did get
there's not a lot of.
Whatchamacallit, they did get the the secret pavilion thing to start their family, seemingly. So
That's true.
But let's not spend 15 minutes talking about the timeline of TWI.
Yeah.
We could be.
And the Indian world is not known for its linguistic drift either. Let's see here. Mystical Pie says no one knows anything about the crosswords other than maybe Sylvania, Sarah and Papa, and Terry. So not really annoyed. People are trying their best to help. I thought Rain of Blood may refer to the Reinhardt vampires, but I feel that was probably after the crossroads closed, so not really sure. I'm sure there's all kinds of interdimensional weirdness happening. You know what? I kind of agree. I almost feel like the parts where I'm getting this feeling of like the parts where there like been mass suffering or something are the places where in the crossroads it's worse, like around Israel. But there's also things underneath or in the ground around a lot of these places. So maybe I'm completely wrong because we know the Mother of Graves is right under Liscor, and everyone says the place around Liscor is terrible, But there are also spots of like great tragedy. So I was thinking maybe like spots of great tragedy affect like the veil between the worlds or something. But it's total headcanon.
I mean, I originally read it as Rain of Blood, like as in raining, not as in woo.
Sorry, Slayer represent. Go big Slayer. Just came out. Kel says the idea of the fairy mounds and time passing weirdly there is ancient too. Yes, that is true. Donkey says, from the vague description we got, the crossroads might have some particular rules that it and or the people in it need to follow. So it might lead to some dangers. That's true. But you're talking to the guy. I mean, just to rebuttal the Wiggles earlier, it's like you're talking to the guy. It's like, okay, but what did you see? What did you see? Was it a pig? Like you think that some guy says, look, when I traveled through here, I saw a gigantic pig with the mouth of a horse and crazy eyes. When I was over here, it was a butt demon. It's just some distraction. I mean, some description. I mean, I know it's got a flow, but it just seems silly. That's all. It just seems silly. Lydia says, fun fact: there are still blood mages in Rear, namely Blighted Kingdom. One was mentioned in 7.35C. Thank you, Lydia. You're always the best with the Rear lore. Mr. Parr says, Fido and the librarian mentioned the crossroads had fallen into disrepair and closed around the same time. The Kriller Wars, if I recall correctly. Do we know that? I think that's what he meant, yeah. And Wevwu, hello, says, didn't pursue a chapter hint that there was some sort of fungal danger, spores or something. Ugh, gosh.
There's the mushroom thing in the dungeon. I remember that, like the mushroom lair, which they have never talked about since. It's like the spider lair, the empty lair, the moth lair, and the mushroom lair.
Huh. I do not recall that myself, but I've often forgot things like that. What do you think about what do you personally feel like the dangers are going to be? You think it's going to be like time stuff, like like in the Feywild or something, or you just think it's going to be bloodthirsty monsters?
I'm guessing that outside of the path, you get like dimensional shit, like horrors kind of thing, possibly with some weird effects like time stuff or whatever. And I think that just a bunch of magic and monsters and stuff have gone into there and like come back out changed and sometimes wander onto the paths. That's what I'm assuming. So like you'll get up in the north. I'm assuming there's like some like I think there's not going to be. They're not going to find a bunch of vampires or something if they go too far up north. I think they're going to be like the Strigoi kind of thing with the like monster vampires, like all gross and monstrous, like that, like a kind of twisted thing. The stuff goes. A bunch of dangerous and horrible stuff has gone into the crossroads and been kind of twisted by it. Is what I'm just assuming.
Something I'm actually really excited for is the idea that we haven't seen. I mean, we know what happened to the vampires here, right? I mean, they were poisoned and killed off. But I like the idea that we could actually see some vampires who survived that, or not didn't survive that, but missed that because they were locked in the crossroads and they've been existing in the crossroads. I would really like to see that, to be honest, because
Yeah, that
I like
would be
vampires.
great. That would be
I like
great. I'm
vampires.
just assuming that if they find him, it's not going to be a happy reunion. They've
Oh,
spent at least thousands of years in a nightmare dimension. They're not
true. I
going to
mean,
come out being a good, like,
but who
normal,
better to
happy
survive
people.
there? Who better to
Well,
survive there? Vampires are
abs-
like. I mean, imagine meeting a level 80 vampire in there who's just been eating this place for breakfast. He's been showing it big at its bitch for the last 6,000 years. I mean, come on, vampires are pretty scary, and they're usually a bit of an upgrade over wherever they come from. Be a hell of a thing. There's also we know Pirate is a bit of a Warhammer fan, so the Chaos Waste, in Hell Dimension, in Hell, I mean, it could be. I mean, Pirate has done some terrible body horror with. I think that's like the Horns like calling card. It's like body horror. I mean, Pirate. I mean, uh, uh, Pisces just almost lost his fingers. They were hanging off by little stumps from shooting that bolt recently. Syria has a skeleton in her hand. How many times has kids ever been dismembered? And freaking Yvonne, just her arms just like fall apart and get ripped up all the time. I mean, if anyone's going to get into the body horror, I think it'd be the Horns, and this would be. I mean, could you just imagine one of them melting? Maybe that's what's going to happen to Colt. Maybe he's going to melt into some weird shape.
it's just like from an outside, like taking a step outside this conversation. Your prediction is that Colt is going to come back as some kind of a melted, grotesque creature.
I'm a friend. I promise. Maybe I should look like a demon or something. Jesus.
Can we
See,
this out?
yeah, you want to read?
Brack Giraffe says, Liskor being dangerous tracks with the tragedy. Makes it more dangerous thing, yeah? Oh, tracks with the tragedy makes it more dangerous thing. Yeah.
Ah,
Regular one, even if it's restrained, seems like it would be enough. It wouldn't be enough, I assume. The city has a pretty rough past as well, with the dungeon and all that stuff under it being another lost city. Dangers sound like weird space anomalies and a bunch of wonky, unique monsters. Feels like it follows Fey rules, stay polite, follow the roads. If you go off, weird stuff happens. Danger depending on stuff that happens in the same spot outside the paths.
yeah. Could just be an amalgam of all that kind of stuff. I'm definitely interested to find out. And Pirate can write horror, so I mean, just the first. I still get flashbacks to the first incursion into the Liskor dungeon. I mean, that shit was crazy, man.
Mm.
So, and I haven't had anything like that since like the city of the dead, or the village of the dead, and maybe the recreate stuff from the slave market or slave stuff. So it's been a while since we've had horror. And
Yeah.
let's see.
Linus angry that you said demon as a pejorative? That
I
Colt
know.
would look like demon?
I know.
Should we take some Antinium questions? Like try to go through a few fast, or
Yeah, sure. Let's hit 'em.
like these two? What?
Okay, let's see. Oh yeah. Um, that's probably a good one to go from here. This is the actual danger that I feel. I I felt during this chapter is that it's the queens, more specifically the Grand Queen. So the question is, how will the other queens react to the Grand Queen's increasing narcissism / tyrannical personality? And I have to say, personally, like this is the danger that I fear is that the Grand Queen thinks so differently than almost the majority of everyone, you know, in the story. Like it is, she's not being malevolent. She's not evil for the sake of evil. She's like the paperclip making robot. It's just this is her job. She gets it done, but she's also learning to be, annoyed by things and feeling like and enjoying her power and stuff. So it's like I almost don't blame her because of the way she thinks differently, and but she's also gaining like personality traits that are unfortunate, I suppose. Uh, Excuse me, I need to take a glass of water. So it's closing up a bit.
Yeah, I mean it's certainly interesting. We feel like we've been building up to this for a long time, ever since like they started getting back into contact, and like the Free Queen started getting annoyed with them all, and then especially when Kilbikich came back to the Highlands, and the Grand Queen had made a bunch of weird uh, clones of like semi clones of him to like have as her royal guard, and all the queens were disunited and kind of working against each other a bit, and the Grand Queen did not like it, and we've just kind of been building up this tension for several volumes, and now the Grand Queen seems to be of the opinion that she needs to squash rebellions and stuff, even though most Antinium don't understand the concept of them. And it's not looking like it's going to be a good situation.
Yeah, I loved Anand's replies like, "Who are we rebelling against?" We're all anti-him here. It's like she's forgetting what it means to be Antinium. I feel like she's taking on these more human traits, but she's not taking on the same human traits that are being so beneficial in Liscor. She's I forget what she's reading. I forget what she's reading about these betrayals and stuff. But I do remember a couple of chapters back that she's been thinking about the differing ways the politics have been working, and starting to apply it to herself and
Last
surroundings.
we saw, last we saw her thought process before this was she was talking about thinking about getting into the slave trade to getting her powers up, and now a bunch of slavers running around, and she's been talking to weird people. Not
That's a
great.
good point. I've forgotten about that.
I mean, the entire Antinium society is around the idea a bunch of interns starting up a civilization, and I mean, it's impressive that they held out this long.
Sure, it just speaks to their power and the power of probably the Centinium. To be honest, I wouldn't want to face Kill even after a couple deaths, or Wurmber's freaking terrifying, you know. But the I do think that the Grand Queen, like I don't know, I can't picture um how this ends. It could end okay. It could end happily, or with a whoosh. Okay, we're fine. Everything's settled down. But the Grand Queen could just say, "Screw it. I need a war right now," you know. And it could just so it's just all on her whim right now, and that's definitely scary. And I definitely feel the tension most coming from her. It started with Vedin, and then we're getting these ominous quotes like, this will go down in history as the thing that started this thing, but no one knew it at the time. There's third person, yeah. But
we have. Oh, sorry, I don't want to cut you off. Just we have a lot of people wanting to talk, and
yes, let's do that. Mr. Webblue, come and trace us with your dulcet tones.
Wabu?
If you can. We're not hearing you if you're doing it. No, we cannot.
No. You seem to be muted.
No, he's unmuted. It's just.
Better?
Oh, there you are.
Welcome.
Yeah, I had to unplug the mic. Okay, so yeah, at first I thought this was going to be like some sort of Antinium Civil War kind of situation, but the fact that the Queens just immediately dismissed her, like, just instantly, and just like, oh, sorry, something's come up, can't really pay attention to this right now, makes me think that they wouldn't tolerate her being a tyrant. Like, if she actually pushed her luck, like, for sure the Twisted Queen would be like, no, you're an idiot, I'm not even going to bother. And I don't think that many of the other queens would tolerate it for too long either. It's just one of those things where she's not thinking like an Antinium anymore, so I don't even think any of the Antinium would side with her. Not even like Zern or anyone like that. It just, she still thinks like an Antinium a little bit, but she's getting her mind twisted and she's just not gonna get any support if she tries to be a tyrant.
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought of that. That the other, I didn't even picture the other Antinium not listening to her. That's a really cool idea. We could expand on that or not. But yeah, I was just like, that's a really cool idea that they wouldn't listen to her. I think I'd always just expected, especially like the Armored Queen or the Flying Queen, to go along. But this definitely was showing. I love that. I did love that the Flying Queen was like the first to be like, oh, I'm suddenly being attacked. I need to go. She's like she learned the invasiveness from Piver. That was really funny actually. And they're all just. It took her a while to notice that they're all just trying to get away from her. That was really funny to me.
The one thing though is that, of course, that the Grand Queen is preparing for people rebelling against her, whereas none of the others are preparing for her to be a tyrant.
That's true. That's very true. She's actually the only one currently positioning herself for war, while the others would not. The others will be taken unawares if such a thing were to happen. So that's sad. Lidu, come and speak to us, please. And
Okay,
I apologize.
I wanted to. I really wanted to, and I wanted to make my thoughts pretty clear. But then, in the middle of waiting, I just got an art, Chibi Venya, that I posted in live chat, and honestly, I absolutely forgot everything that I wanted to say. I'm just thinking about Sylvania. Sorry, I'm just too happy right now.
Oh, that's very cute. We've got you on her head.
Yes, that's me.
You can ping again later if you want to, if you remember what you want to say.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Wiggles, please.
So, the comment about this, I forget who said it, but the comment about these people being like interns trying to start up a government, basically, is really correct in my opinion too, because in a lot of the ways the Grand Queen is, expecting these kind of treacherous situations, whereas all the other queens basically haven't thought about it at all. And I think that's going to be their kind of undoing as well. The only one who might rebel against the Grand Queen is just the Twisted Queen. And it's because she kind of seems to understand quite a bit more, and she has her own way of doing things. And as soon as the Grand Queen starts to try and take over, fully take over, because right now she's slowly creeping in, it seems like, where she's kind of ordering them to give her status updates more and more every day. and just trying to get them to view her as the leader. But like the only one I can see that will really rebel is the Twisted Queen. And yes, Zern, but Zern isn't in the Hivelands. She's not there to monitor the situation. This is pretty much the perfect opportunity for the Grand Queen to consolidate her power right now, is with Zern gone. Because Zern is really the only one who would go against her.
It should be noted that that the Twisted Queen is the one who is also most okay with actually getting rid of queens, because her big project were those queenless, or those birthing things that don't require queen input. So, like, she's been trying to make it so that they can survive even without queens. So she would also be the one most in favor of shanking the Grand Queen if it came to it.
I agree. But the Twisted Queen is also, well, I like the Twisted Queen. She's also twisted. Like, she still doesn't, I mean, she seems reasonable and after after fashion. Uh, after she seems reasonable after fashion, but she's also she's also completely remorseless, towards Antinium, like the other ones used to be. Like, they go out and capture people. She's the scary, like, she's the Antinium that people tell their kids about, say, they warn their kids about, if you don't eat your breakfast, they're going to come and grab you up and, and turn you into some disgusting meat vat or something. I like the Twisted Queen, but she's also that monster as well. So I am kind of scared about that. But I mean, I just wish I don't know. For what Wiggles was saying, I do think if there was a civil war, I do think we could miss a few. But I do think this is also almost the perfect time politically that the distinctions could be made in the eyes of the rest of the world between the different hives. For once, I mean, everyone knows that the free hive is weird and is different like that, especially with the Crusaders coming about and the painted Antinium and stuff, and Lispor doing its thing. Also with Aaron being around, but I think everyone has been so set on the Antinium being one homogenous threat. I think this will be at a time when, if they do fight, it will be it'll be a big eye opener for the rest of the world on how different they've actually become, and maybe there could be peace, with some parts of it, while other parts may need to be fought again. Oh, Linu messaged me, says, managed to gather my thoughts. Okay, come back, Linu.
Okay, so about the queens and mainly the Grand Queen, I think she kinda stops thinking like the Antinium, and she starts thinking like a normal royal. Like if she was, okay, drakes don't have queens and kings, but if they had, she would think like one. She starts to think petty. She starts being focused on her rule instead of just Antinium getting the shit done. She's not thinking mainly, rather she's losing that idea in your head that you should only think about the good of the Antinium as a species. She more or less is starting to think about who matters most, and to her, she matters most. Maybe save for the Centennium. And she starts being more and more and more and more focused on herself, which I think is a process of corruption that will end up in maybe Antinium civil war. Which Antinium are going to rebel against her? I don't know. I literally don't know. I think Twisted Queen, maybe. Or maybe the civil war will last 5 minutes because angry Vrimvir will just come and be like, I'm going to smash you to pieces! And dunk on her. So, there's that. Might end up like that. We don't know. Rumor can come from above or below the ground. You can never know. That's my take on it.
Thank you, Leonard. And that's a good point. I forgot about Wisdom. Forgot about Wimber. Wimber is a huge piece, and whoever doesn't get squashed by him would definitely be more advantaged. You want to read the next couple?
Sure. The next. Which were we on?
Donkey, and Mystical Pie.
Sure. Unless an individual or non-Antinium clues them in, that's from Donkey, by the way, the other Antinium queens will take a while to realize it because it's so different from their expectations of an Antinium queen. I agree with that. I think we've said some things to that effect. Mystical Pie says, the Grand Queen is clearly being slowly corrupted by a feeling of uselessness and probably contact with Rochal. Xern was the only thing keeping her in check, and Xern is at the Free Hive now. Contact with the Free Queen has also shown that the other queens that they don't really need to listen to the Grand Queen. They are, in their own ways, becoming individual, realizing that they don't have to agree with the Grand Queen. She has partly forgotten what made the Antinium strong and is becoming more human. I think all the other queens stay unified, but my fear is the Grand Queen turns against them or joins Rochal. What if the caravan has a slave lord that can brand the queen? Lots of icky, scary possibilities, and I think civil war is inevitable with all the queens against the Grand Queen. The question is, how bad will it be, and what outside force will join the Grand Queen's side? Yeah, it's a very good.
Talk about worst case scenario.
Yeah. But yeah, personally, I think it's pretty likely that some of this stuff will happen. It's a very good write-up of the whole bad case scenario, especially with the whole queen situation.
I mean, branding a queen is the worst idea. I mean, is the worst case scenario I can possibly think of.
Yeah.
I mean, holy crap! All you'd have to do is, it's like the mothership, you know. All you have to do is take over that one, and then you have an Antinium army at your beck and call. That is terrifying.
I will say that the queens had already been fracturing before the Free Queen got in contact with them. Like when the Free Queen got back and Kilbikich got back in contact, they found out that the other hives are not really sharing their projects with each other, and like the Twisted Queen's barely talking to the others most of the time, and like stuff like that. They haven't been really unified in a while.
That's true. That is definitely true. But dang, I didn't even think about the Rothschild thing. That's definitely scary. A Bleach Soul, please. What do you guys say?
Yes, I do believe the Antinium Civil War is pretty unavoidable at the moment, and I do believe like the Free Queen will lead the charge. After all, the Free Queen is the one that have been cut off from the rest of the hives because of her decisions, and she's the one like her hive has made the individuals, and now Eunestis network, and I do believe her project will finish. When she will finish the project, she will have made new queens or stuff. But I do believe they will get rid of the Grand Queen, and the Free Queen will become the Grand Queen, or maybe they'll make like a council of queens or whatever. But I do believe the Antinium Civil War is unavoidable at the moment. Or yeah, that's it.
Yeah, the more you guys bring it up, the more solidified it's becoming in my head. I can totally see an arc about that. I would hate if Russell got any close, but also I'm thinking I would hate if Castigna offered the Grand Queen something. Imagine. I mean, I don't think. Well, no, the Antinium are some of the few things that understand what gods are. So that would be freaky if Castigna had the Grand Queen under her. Oh, we already got that. Edaron, please come back.
Yes. I don't know exactly who said that, but about the Antinium Civil War, or even about the Antinium War. Somebody once said that when the Third Antinium War is breaking out, that the Free Queen is gonna fight on the other side, not with the Antinium. And just about the comment of the Civil War, or even another war that just the line just come back to me, and I can totally see that the Grand Queen behaving more and more like, again, like a queen, and not like a human queen or a royal instead of an Antinium queen. And I can totally see that the Free Queen, if it's too much for her, just saying, "What, you know what? Just leave me, just get the fuck out, leave me alone. I'm doing my own thing here." And I really could see that happen, and that could be an arc, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like more and more bits of it are just coming to my head. How it could go. But, that was definitely a hell of a thing. Mystical Pie says that was Magnolia, I think. It's
Yeah,
in response to
the
your
idea that they would float, or that they wouldn't fight against Aaron in the Free Hive has been floated
yeah,
multiple times.
gotcha.
We are, I mean, we're at an hour 20. Should we do like question 7 about
Let's just
sleepy?
let's just open it up to just all about sleepy and stuff. We don't have to just be like we had a frankly a terrifying uh, ending credits to this one, in which Sleepy is wanting to wake up. We had the POV, at least for a second, of Sleepy, and she wants to be awake, and she is aware of things happening around her. She knows that she knows that she created the Krillers. I'm thinking she knows about the Antinium, and I think those are what the her rogue dreams were. Um, and that the ones even killing her other dreams. I think that's what the what that was referring to. But holy crap!
Well, when she said like the dream that was killing her other things, that was the
Mm-hmm.
Antini.
Yeah,
It was
I was thinking.
it was the ones that have passed the trial and become leveling creatures.
Yeah, so it's even noticed. So it even noticed. It even knows what the trials are. I mean,
Yeah.
that is an awareness that I was not prepared for. So I mean, did you think that Sleepy was awake, or was that awake?
No, I didn't like. It seems like it was even. I assumed that it was kind of like in a permanent coma kind of thing. I wasn't even sure that it was had been born before, like it was destroyed. That it was like a proto demigod or something. But apparently, it was about to like become about to wake up, and then it got crashed into the ground and has just been sitting there, kind of, sort of lucid dreaming for the past thousands upon thousands of years, which is very scary.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much you guys know about Lovecraftian lore, but I don't want to spoil it. But there are similarities to things like that, uh, in which all of reality is basically just one of their dreams. So if that person or that entity was to wake up, then the dream would end and all of reality would go away. I'm getting uber like uber Lovecraft feelings from Sleepy these days, and it's like, whew. Let's see. Who would like? Who's going to go first? Lindy would like to go first. I'm sure he's going to refer back to his Roy Mustang impression. Yes.
Yep. To be fair, like I have both the crack impression and not the crack one when it comes to this one. Like my crack one is that it's going to be bad and it's going to end up bad, and we will have some form of widespread evacuation from here and entire serious plot about it and stuff. That's my crack. And my serious one is that if Sleepy will unleash that horror that is brewing in there, because Sleepy was thinking or dreaming about something that was meant to be even stronger than the Clearers, the monsters that nearly wiped out the entire world last time. So I think that the moment that thing comes out, Sylvania just smites it into oblivion. She gets to level 95 thanks to that. Then she sings the Blighted Kingdom and we can progress the story as it should be. This was a setup all along. That's my legit theory. This is a setup to power level Sylvania, I'm telling you.
And that's not your crack theory. Gotcha. Understood.
That's the serious one.
Okay. Understood.
I'm telling you, this is a setup that once it all ends, Sylvania will power level thanks to this.
Okay. Have a head, Pat. Have a head, Pat.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Dougie says, the way that Sleepy was referred to in that section, or rather how it wasn't, is quite interesting. Not sure what, if any, conclusions or theories could be taken away from that, but I wanted to point it out. Like, the idea that Cassigna was scared, was like sneaking up to it or tiptoeing up to it. That's the imagery I felt when he was like, "Are you there? Can you hear me?" type of thing. Cassigna was the worst thing, and now Cassigna doesn't feel like the worst thing anymore. Sleepy now feels like the worst thing, and I don't know. What do you find scarier, Monsieur? A bunch of petulant pantheon of petulant gods, or unknowable Cthulhu-esque dream monster?
Well, it's the whole thing about the Cassigna is like an actual. The problem is that it's kind of set up so that Cassigna is the experienced and actual capable creature, whereas Sleepy is just kind of this sleeping baby throwing a tantrum thing, kind of. But the difference is that Cassigna is dead and this thing has a body. The thing that makes me more afraid of Sleepy than Cassigna is that Cassigna has already been undermined as being a total idiot. So
That's true.
I'm more afraid of Sleepy.
Alrighty, yeah. Wafu, give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about this, because I was kind of hoping that Sleepy wasn't necessarily evil. I had this whole head theory where I'm like, oh, I really hope that Sleepy is just having nightmares because there was a god war and that it can't really control it. But now it seems that we learn for sure that it is consciously aware of what it's doing. Like, it knows that it's sending out nightmares to kill people. And so that's a lot more evil. But at the same time, it's not quite as evil as I thought it would be, because it seems to be like being like, all right, you guys can live, but if you approach this unknown thing that we haven't really gotten into yet, it's like, I'm going to have to take you guys down a peg and release a nightmare. And now it's wanting to wake up, and so its whole thing is like, I'm going to do something so bad that they have to go ahead and deal with me and wake me up inadvertently. And that's kind of what I took away from this, is that I don't know if it's like 100% evil. It's certainly amoral in regards to mortals, but there's something else going on here, and I'm looking forward to seeing what it is.
Yes. This is scary. Thedacron says, Sleepy will unleash an army of evil solstices who will use their infinite charm to destroy the world, forsooth. Yes, Thedacron, that would be the best case scenario, I think. Bleach Soul says Evelyn will defeat Dreamy with her dream class. A laughing Aaron at the end, and Wiggles, come spick.
All I know is that I am excited. The sleepy point of view has excited me. I want the nightmare to come. All right, I want some nightmares, some real nightmares, on par or better than the Krellers. It'll be fun, and just getting a point of view from them was just very interesting. It's it's an odd point of view, honestly. How they're like dreaming, but they're kind of trapped and they want to be woken up. It's all interesting. I wonder what they're really like, what their situation is really like. It's a weird one. But yeah, I want some new horrors. This is some fun stuff.
Like, what do you think this new nightmare is going to be?
Well, I have no idea. Like, if you had asked me, if you had asked me like years ago what a Kreller was, and we hadn't gotten a real good look at it, I would have no idea. Pirate Epic comes up with some really good horrors, and so I'm not even going to try and guess at what the horror will be. But I have faith it's going to be good.
Yeah, pirate is an imagination. You know that. It's a hell of a thing. Let's see. Bleach Soul. Do you think all these God plot points will be solved in this volume? No, I don't. And I was actually going to ask Wiggles, like, what did you think the timeline of this will be? Like, do you see it happening in like 4 volumes? Do you see it in 5? Something like that. Like, I don't feel like this is happening soon. If it does, it's like, okay, we just went from God plot in end of Dead Days to all of a sudden into Cthulhu horror. I think that would be too fast, personally. But what do you guys think?
I would assume that it's hard to say before the solstice, because the solstice is going to kick off a lot of God stuff. But at the same time, we have both Regis and Tolvi in the north, and we have like lots of other stuff going on. So it's hard to say what exactly is going to be the next big arc before the event that has to do with all the gods.
Yeah, it's like we have so many things on our plate right now. I mean, it's like we're just gonna just throw a waking demigod on top of it. I mean, I can't count on one hand. All the plot points we're still ongoing, and we're gonna add another huge one. I mean, come on. I don't think it's gonna be happening very soon, just from a narrative point of view. But it would be a hell of a thing. Fetacron says, I would like to note that the demigod was referred to as a sleeping god, and that isn't a typo. What does that mean? Sleeping god. I really don't know. What do you think?
I mean, a demigod can still be a sleeping god. Like it's
Like its powers aren't
sleeping.
being used to its fullest?
I'm assuming that it's saying that what's the difference? Is it a demigod or is it a god? I think you can still refer to a demigod as God. Like, I don't think that takes away too much. Like, it's a huge sign. It's a divine, very powerful divine creature with like, godlike abilities. Either it's just like a proto god that will grow into a god, or it's just a big like not quite all the way to a god creature. But either way, I think calling it a sleeping god only semantic grammar Nazis like Terriarch would complain.
Yeah, maybe I think maybe it's they'd be even more terrible in the wakefulness of their power if they were more aware than they are. Like they're definitely being. I mean, being asleep is definitely hampering their abilities to be more malevolent. I think. I'm thinking that's maybe.
Also, I
That's
don't think that we're ever going to get to a point where we're like the characters are fighting an actual living, fully powered god. Um, like I can see a story where Sleepy wakes up and like they have to stop it, or where Casigna like powers up and is about to like is close to returning to real godhood. But I don't see them redoing the actual God War of like 1,000 dragons and 1,000,000 elves blowing up continents. I don't think that's where the story is going to go.
Yeah, I didn't think so. And then we got the Deadlands and stuff, and like the apocalypse was happening. It's like
True.
this escalated. I mean, this was a Chevy Escalade. This was I mean, this got out of hand. But I was almost thinking, like, what if Aaron has to team up with Casigna to take down Sleepy? I mean, that'd be a hell of a thing. I mean, how many villains have we seen? Get a face turn. You know, as even Kill by Kick was a bit of a villain. Chisenber, I mean, they're obviously small stuff compared to the Goddess of Death. But hey, any point in a storm. Mystical Pie says, what's scary to me is the Antinium likely dealt with the bulk of the Krillin threat by being right next to Sleepy and destroying their temples in their assault on Sleepy. The First Queen and most of the Antinium aren't around anymore, and the world is waning. I can't imagine what a threat worse than the Krillers would do to the world. Right, we were in the waning world. Maybe it might have. I think we've switched over now that I think we're on a wax. We're on a wax right now. To be honest, with after the Knolls, after the shamans switched to real and gave it a butt. But I agree. We're at a low power. We're a we're a low power moving into high power, and that's some crazy shit, man. Let's see. Lenny said in reply to Telecron, a shorter character count. Yeah. Telecron said, what good things might Sleepy have dreamt up? Apparently, didn't just dream nightmares. Oh, yeah, that's
I mean,
an interesting point of
Antinium
view.
was one dream that was kind of neutral, and then I assume that maybe the whatchamacalls it the I mean the corruption is definitely a dream slash nightmare, but the
Yeah,
demons seem to be handling it just fine. So that could be another like the form of dream that doesn't turns you into a cool dude with horns. I mean that's a kind of a nice dream. Also,
true.
there's all the stuff that the Antinium uncovered under the world. We don't know how much of that is various civilizations over the tens of thousands of years,
Right.
and how much of it is like remnants of dreams. Like
Sure.
those random moss elementals could have been a dream.
Or the sentient silverfish, and I'm sure Linu was saying that Sylvania was definitely a good part of something that came from Rear, or was.
Lino schools me on demon lore, of course.
Okay. Linu says, on the note of the gods, am I the only one who doesn't respect them at all? They're dumb. They're dumbos. They're stupid. They should kill themselves. I hate their guts. They make the inner world worse. I want to see myself and Sylvania cuddling, not the gods trying to be like, woohoo, or woohoo, were evil worship us. I hate their guts. And replying to you said, demons are handling it fine, quote unquote, because they're using cleansing zones. Using cleansing zones to get rid of too much blight effect. But the heartbeats got it worst. Oh, okay. And Mystical Pie says, yeah, that's a good point. Like the Revenant civilization could have been buried civilization, or could have just been some weird shit, sleeping jumped up. That's a good point. I mean, like, why would there be a library underneath the sands? I mean, I guess it could have just gotten swallowed up by the sand, or is it even sand? It's just the world. It's not the Zykel, right? Different continent.
Yeah, yeah. I
Different
mean,
continent.
it's always seemed pretty badlandsy.
Yeah, I don't picture. Like, I picture like worst parts of Australia in Utah or something. Yeah.
Like more cracked earth than. I mean, there's probably a lot of like sandy parts since there's not a lot of vegetation and presumably a bit dry. Like there's probably like very dusty at the very least.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see, we had some typers. I gotta ask y'all, what was y'all opinion of the let's say the member measuring contest? That was that was some definite fun in this chapter, and I have to say, I gotta wonder, what do you guys think? Aaron is being. Do you think Aaron is being set up by Fiddlehep to be a royal type of thing? She definitely noticed. She noticed the librarian calling her Her Majesty, and Feddo seemed a bit embarrassed, but didn't correct him. You know, is Feddo doing something on the sly there, or is it just the people taking their what do you call it, their note from Feddo and just extrapolating? What do you think, Monsieur?
There's been a lot of FedoHep like mentions, but or like in this volume, I forget exactly what's happened. Maybe someone else knows. But did he point out to people that he had a new kind of sort of heir who probably wasn't good for it? I seem to recall that occurring in some chapter. But yeah. I mean,
Well,
we have
we know that.
the pot girl.
Yeah, we know that Aaron was offered the position of queen and heir to a couple places in the Deadlands, and we know she turned it down. And I think I thought they had discussed that Aaron wasn't going to be, taking the place. I mean, they'd had that speaking tone conversation, say like, yeah, I wouldn't have been a good fit, and he's saying you would have, but she's like, no, you have an heir already, let her do it and stuff. But I don't know. Well, oh, sorry.
No, it's just I'm thinking we should finish up with what we're talking in the next chapters, and maybe stop the recording because we're an hour 45 now.
Yeah.
Probably keep it reasonable.
No, I don't have to edit it. All right, Webu, please.
Yeah, so I just think that Fedohep is just hedging his bets. He doesn't know what the future's going to hold. He's got another person lined up to be the next ruler of Kelt, but he probably knows that the future is uncertain. It's extremely possible that Kelt will either straight up fall or at least fall under heavy attack, and who knows what's happening. So even though Aaron has said, no, I don't want to be the queen of Kelt, he's still just planting that seed and nurturing it just in case something happens. I think that he's old enough and wise enough to be like, I don't know the future, so I'm going to, not put all my eggs in one basket.
I can see that. I can also just see him, I don't know, just not saying it outright, but like just setting the tone for everybody in Kelt. And then like, I would love as soon as Aaron physically steps foot in Kelt, I'm gonna love it because she's gonna be treated like a princess. She's gonna hate it, but it's gonna be funny as shit. Like, I don't know when she's gonna be there, but I feel like she's gonna be there at some point. And then like, this was the guy, or this was the one that King Fiore wanted to rule us. I don't think I can't think of her name in the moment, but the pot maker, the current heir of Kel, is going to be resentful at all. I think I just that's going to be fun, and I really hope Fiore is there when it happens. I'm afraid of death flags, but yeah. Let's see. Kikanolo says, I'm in the wrong question for this comment, but I did want to say that I'm annoyed with how TC is getting away with everything. He should face consequences, pay reparations for what he did to Salazar. Not just have others get him off scot-free to do the same thing again with no lesson learned. I was really hoping Aaron would make him do some kind of reparations instead of just protecting him, because what he did was really scummy. You know what? It's off topic, but I agree. TC, when I learned what the painting that they did, like what the painting did, I mean, even just screwing up art is just fucked up, in my opinion, just straight up. But the fact that this painting just literally gave people relief, like it wasn't just nice painting that everyone liked. It was like it took away people's pain and let them. I mean, that's just so fucked up. So yeah, I totally understand why people were coming after him. I mean, maybe you shouldn't kill him, but he definitely deserved to be, something.
Yeah, I don't. People are probably a bit sick of me talking about this in Patreon spoilers, and I don't want to get too off topic and discuss this back and forth here now, especially at the end of the discussion. But I just I have this is a sore spot for me because I've I think it's one of the worst parts of the entire story, in my opinion. That it just doesn't make any sense, really. The whole scenario. We never hear from like anything else. That literally the only perspective we've ever heard of what happened was the guy who came to murder him for everything else aside, essentially ruining the painting of his friend's marriage. Like it's a very strange situation, and in my opinion, it's the only part of the story that I think wasn't very well written and could have been expanded much. Like this, the follow up to it is good and all, but just the base situation, how it was handled, was very strange. Especially how like it was. We saw Tessie like talking to Ralph and having like character growth, and then a random Earther comes in and convinces him to burn down a museum, and it's just a very strange situation that hasn't been expanded upon at all. But yeah,
I'd be really,
let's not
yeah, I'd be really
start
interested to talk
replying
with
to
you.
this.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to talk with you off stream about that. That's an interesting idea. Mr. Pie replied, I think his consequences is Fetton probably dying / being permanently disfigured. That is a possibility, but it still is skirting. Tetacron says it could have just been the librarian following his lead after Fetotep called Aaron a monarch in her inn. But for the sake of crack, I hope Aaron is going to get a title first on her, Princess of Keldark. Yes, that'd be fun. Lenu says, thought Aaron and Fetotep conversation, but didn't Aaron just randomly kill the horns? We know for a fact that Blighted Kingdom kills people who get in contact with death, and she just talked about it while having a bunch of rando kids behind her. If any of them spills the beans, and however you say it, the horns have Blighted Kingdom assassins blood on it. Yeah, that's a point. Sylvania doesn't contact Aaron for a reason, because she said in a previous chapter, because it puts Aaron in danger. My thought is, between Kill the Kid Fed It Up and Aaron, didn't you just make the Horns' life much worse? Also hers as well. That's a point. Plow?
It's similar to, like, I see it as kind of similar to the whole Rochelle situation, where Erin was about to put a quest to destroy Rochelle, but then stopped herself. It's like a kind of similar situation where she kind of has these instincts that might have kind of gets terrible reprisals. The difference, of course, is that narratively, Erin is in a position to fight Lighted Kingdom as long as they don't just immediately kill her, like with an assassination or kill the Horns. Like if they get into a conflict that doesn't just end with the Horns or her dying, then she can actually retaliate with her Nerishal line,
Okay.
like that he gave her in the future past.
Yeah. Huh, it just, but Linda's right. I mean,
Yeah,
after they had a big old thing about don't contact or don't mention anything about Rochelle, and then in front of 5 children of Archmage of Israel, Relk, a whole bunch of other people, they turn around and say, hey, we got contacted by Sylvania and the deaths. I mean, that seems kind of oopsie. Maybe I'm blowing out of proportion. I don't know how to read those characters, so I'm not going to. It looks like a V. I'm sorry, I can't read that. But they say if the BK does that, Aaron could just pull out a secret password and convert Narrow Shell to her cause. Tell him to make the Demented King show his actual age. Hopefully, Val is fine. Indeed. I wish I knew how to say your name or read those.
Val.
Or read that.
Val
Tetacrons,
Thuran or Val.
if he says. Oh, are they trying to be English? That's not a different language?
No, it's just that's their actual handle without this stuff.
Okay. Tetacron says Aaron is going to run into some more metaphorical crossbow bolts. Then the guy says, she's immune now. Wiggle says,